Dharma talk, eternal spring. Venerable Elder Thong Lak, giving the teaching. Audience, monastic trainees. Time, 1993. 1. Monastic trainee prostrates and makes a formal statement on the first day of Tet, Thechantin. Homage to the original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Respectfully addressing the teacher. Today, I have the karmic condition to bow my head in sincerity and make a formal statement. Homage to the original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Respectfully addressing the teacher. And today is the first day of Tet, the first day of spring of the year of Kuidao. According to custom, on the first day of the year, in every family as well as in the temples, people welcome the new year and offer congratulations for longevity. Therefore, we respectfully bow and request the teacher to graciously come to the meditation hall so that we may celebrate and offer wishes for the teacher's longevity. We earnestly hope the teacher will compassionately and joyfully bear witness, so that we may express a small measure of our sincere reverence and gratitude for the teacher's instruction. In the future, we respectfully ask the teacher to guide us thoroughly, to liberate us from suffering, and to end rebirth and the cycle of samsara. We respectfully ask the teacher, in compassion and mercy, to grant permission so that we may receive the grace of your merit and virtue. Homage to the original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. M2. The spring of Buddhism is the eternal spring. The Elder. Today, you venerable ones have invited the teacher to the meditation hall to celebrate and offer wishes for the teacher's longevity at the beginning of the new year. The teacher will speak to you about eternal spring. First, you venerable ones, together with the teacher, recite the sacred name of the Buddha. Homage to the original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Thank 3 times. According to the established practice and the customs of each nation in the world, the first day of the year is Lunar New Year. For the Vietnamese people and the Chinese people, Tet is the first day of spring, and when speaking of spring, one speaks of weather that is warm, cool and pleasant for human beings, for animals, and even for plants and trees. That day begins a new year. That day is also the day when everyone in this world adds 1 more year to their age. Therefore, everyone takes this day as a day to celebrate age or a day to wish longevity to one another. For that reason, they lay out in abundance food and cakes for eating and drinking after a year of labor with the hands and with the mind. Because life is too arduous and too exhausting, people take this day as a day of rest and enjoyment for an entire week. Some rest for an entire month, or for the whole 3 months of spring. Therefore, during these days, there appears bustle and excitement for all ages, from a 5-year-old child to an 80-year-old elder. All feel a certain stirring, a certain eagerness in their hearts. On the roads, vehicles move back and forth in great numbers. The streets today display brightly all kinds of goods. Young men and elegant women move about festively and lively. Everyone dresses neatly, especially the children, wearing this outfit, that garment, this style, that fashion, leisurely showing off colors and beauty to one another. As for the flowers, there are all kinds: apricot blossoms, longevity flowers, chrysanthemums, peonies, dahlias, jasmine, mist, and so on, competing to bloom abundantly, displaying colors and fragrance in countless forms to welcome the Lord of Spring. The external scenery appears to have completely changed its ordinary daily face. Houses and streets also become brighter, more festive, more bustling. The sound of firecrackers often explodes everywhere, forming the resounding sound of spring, making it even more lively and jubilant. The hearts of people within are the same, eager, joyful, laughing loudly, on the occasion of welcoming the new year. But when examined to the very end, during these days, in these occasions, those who rejoice are many, yet those who suffer and grieve are also many. Those who have surplus food and wealth are many, yet those who lack food and carry debts are also many. That is the activity of the beginning of the year, joy and sorrow, suffering and pain, gloom and anxiety of human beings in this world. Now at present, we are Buddhist monastics, directing ourselves toward the goal of liberation. Therefore, at this present moment, we must view Tet, view spring, view the first day of the year, just like the last day of the year, and like all other days of the year. All the same, there is nothing called spring, nothing called joy, and there is nothing called sorrow, nothing called the beginning of spring, nothing called the end of spring. If our view is like that, how could there be excitement? How could there be joy and delight in the heart? How could there be playful laughter? Therefore, how could there be going out to enjoy spring scenery here and there, causing waste and spending money? You, venerable ones, for the eyes of a Buddhist monastic, spring must be seen as the undying spring, the eternal spring. Likewise, longevity must be seen in this way. Longevity must be long-lasting, not merely 100 years, but many, many more than that. Longevity without limit, without end. Therefore, Zen master Thien Lao, during the Li dynasty, was practicing to live the longevity that is boundless, and was practicing to see the eternal spring expressed through the two verses below. Jan, Trikim Hatnguyet Thui Trukku Xuanthu, translated by Venerable Teach Thuntu. Only knowing this present sun and moon, who understands the springs and autumns of the past. Here, the teacher explains so that you, venerable ones, may understand more clearly. And the first line, only knowing this present sun and moon, means living with the present, knowing the present, and neither knowing nor worrying about tomorrow. The second line, who understands the springs and autumns of the past, means living in the present, living for now, not remembering, not thinking about the past. Today, you venerable ones have sufficient good conditions to meet the teacher in this barren land of Trang Bang, without great mountains, without wide rivers, and without fertile soil like other places. Here is not a place to guide and train extraordinary and outstanding individuals, but nevertheless, having sufficient good conditions to meet the teacher, whether little or much, the teacher will still instruct and guide in pointing out the path for you, venerable ones, to seek an eternal spring, a spring that tens of thousands upon tens of thousands of people dream of. You venerable ones should also understand that the teacher's words here are truthful words, not empty speech. Therefore, before pointing out the way to you, you must make the effort to listen carefully, and within your own hearts, answer the teacher's questions. 3. The worldly custom of celebrating spring is deceptive and cruel. Do you know what kind of day today is? Is it a joyful day or a sorrowful day? You have gathered here to wish the teacher longevity and celebrate his age. Is this in accordance with the spirit of liberation of Buddhism? You venerable ones, listen carefully. The teacher will now speak. Here we are, Buddhist monastics. Why do we imitate the customs and habits of worldly people? Why do we allow Buddhism to be assimilated into those customs? You venerable ones, it is only because for a long time you have lived in temples, in hermitages, in small retreats, in chanting halls, in monasteries, in meditation centers, in Buddhist institutes, and have gradually become accustomed to the folk customs of worldly people. These customs are not in accordance with the path of compassion and liberation of Buddhism, because in those places you have organized welcoming spring, enjoying spring, wishing longevity. You have become accustomed to it, have long been influenced by those customs. In those places, you are also like lay people in the world, eager, seem busy, repairing, repainting temples to make them look new, arranging tables and chairs to be polished and shining to welcome spring, to wish the teacher longevity, to celebrate the Buddha's age. These actions are truly very sinful. It must be said they are truly mistaken. You venerable ones are disciples of the Buddha, bhikkhus, samanas, practitioners of the holy life, examples of moral virtue for everyone to see and know. You have abandoned family, abandoned the secular life, cut off affection, and left home. Yet you have allowed Buddhism to be worldly assimilated. For a long time, your minds have been obstructed by the space and time of worldly spring. Because of that, you have mistakenly taken the worldly spring to be the joyful and beautiful spring of the Dharma, and have forgotten yourselves in the undying spring, the eternal spring of Buddhism, the undying spring, the spring of the Dharma, within your own hearts, which today the disciple of the Buddha has already lost. Because you have pursued worldly, sensual pleasures too much, the worldly spring has been able to invade you, to attract you, to rule within your hearts, the spring of Maitreya, the spring of Buddhism. Now no one knows where to find it. It has disappeared from the hearts of people, and even from you, children of the Buddha, long ago. Today you have come here to practice with the teacher. You must abandon these worldly pleasures and customs. These pleasures are very ordinary, very childish, and, it must be said, very full of deception. Deception toward others and deception toward themselves. These customs cannot deceive a true Buddhist monastic. They only deceive those who are ignorant, whose minds are still greedy for pleasure, whose minds are still defiled by sensual desire. They do not understand that the Buddha is the enlightened one who has transcended space and time. Then, where is their spring, summer, autumn, or winter? The Buddha's longevity is immeasurable, without end. Since the Buddha's age has no space and no time, what is there to celebrate? What is there to pray for? The Sangha means teacher. The teacher is one who follows in the footsteps of the Buddha. Therefore, the teacher must aim toward the immeasurable longevity of the Buddha. Why then today do you still arrange things in the manner of worldly, ordinary people, celebrating spring, wishing longevity, and even laying out food, cakes, and fruits on the Buddha's altar, on the patriarch's altar? You further arrange flowers, cakes and fruits, incense and lamps, tea and offerings of all kinds. And the most regrettable thing is that you venerable ones have spent so much precious time doing something that is not in accordance with the path of Buddhist practice, instead of using this precious time to make effort in cultivation. If for more than a month you have had to concern yourselves with painting, repairing, arranging, cleaning, washing tables and chairs, polishing bronze incense burners, scrubbing trays, and so on. Therefore, at present among you, there is also bustle, eagerness, festivity. If you examine carefully, you are no different from worldly people. You venerable ones, today, you invite the teacher here to celebrate the teacher's longevity, to offer wishes of long life. No, you venerable ones do not do those worldly things. They are not the path of Buddhism. Have you observed this? Do you see that it is so? The day that you and everyone in this world call celebrating spring, enjoying spring, celebrating age, wishing longevity, the day that you dress neatly, like everyone else, to welcome New Year's Eve, to celebrate the new year. On that day, if you would pay a little attention, just a little, you would see that that day is the most tragic, sorrowful, and painful day for animals, especially livestock. That day is the day chickens, ducks, pigs, goats, buffaloes, cows, fish, shrimp, clams, mussels are brought out to be killed for meat, to be made into food, to celebrate the new year, to welcome spring, to wish longevity to one another. You must understand, this action is truly contradictory. Shortening the lives of animals, taking their flesh to celebrate, to enjoy freely, calling it wishing longevity, so that one may live long for tens of thousands of years. Examine carefully. You will clearly see these actions are very cruel, yet wishing longevity to live long and to continue doing many cruel deeds, then ask yourselves, can such actions obtain longevity? It is already cruel actions without recognizing them as cruel, yet still enjoying yourselves upon suffering, upon death, upon bones and blood, upon the screams of agony, upon the struggling, rolling and writhing in pain in the hands of human beings. You venerable ones are monastics in the path of compassion. Do you not have even a little compassion? You are practitioners of the path of compassion, yet you join in rejoicing according to the customs of cruel human beings, killing living beings. Then what remains of the path of compassion? Then what remains of celebrating spring and wishing longevity? Is it not so, you venerable ones? For the new year of human beings is a day of suffering and lamentation for animals. Because of karmic blood debts they must repay. Because of evil karma, they must bear the result. If you understand that that day is a day of suffering, then do not laugh in joy, but let fall each drop of tears in compassion for all beings who, through ignorance, kill one another. People do not know. They are killing their fathers, their mothers, their brothers, their sisters, their relatives to celebrate their own longevity. They do not know. Therefore, they eat one another and still laugh and play freely upon piles of bones and flesh and blood of one another. That day is a day of mourning, a day of suffering for those who have wisdom, who clearly see that ignorance covers and blinds people, causing them to kill one another without knowing. Therefore, they no longer have even a little love for one another. For the one who understands and sees clearly, it is truly heartbreaking. Because of this, the teacher cannot remain silent and allow you to continue rejoicing like that. Now that you clearly understand, will you still follow those customs? Will you still welcome spring and wish longevity? Buddhism is the path of compassion. How can it accept customs filled with cruelty and selfishness, wishing for oneself long life and abundant happiness? Yet, on the contrary, taking the lives of others, using the suffering of others as a day of joy for oneself, seeking longevity for oneself. Reflect carefully. Can wishing longevity and celebrating longevity in this way bring any result? The law of cause and effect. You must examine it carefully. Commit one evil deed and one must reap painful results. Perform one wholesome deed and one reaps joyful results. Therefore, according to the law of cause and effect, the spring day, the New Year day, that you organize for rejoicing, what fruits will it bring? The cause of shortening the lives of beings, the cause of cruelty, the cause of unwholesomeness. The result must be premature death, must be suffering. Therefore, the Buddha taught that beings are entirely ignorant, blind, and thus never able to see the eternal spring. Today, you are disciples of the Buddha. Do not cover your ears and cover your eyes to follow worldly customs. Do not indulge in worldly sensual pleasures in these days. Worldly pleasures are very short-lived. Joy here, suffering there. In the blink of an eye, they vanish like clouds and smoke. For 1 year of human life is very short. It is only one cycle of the earth. For a Buddhist monastic must live like Zen Master Tien Lao, not knowing day, month, or year. That is transcending space and time. Only in that way can it be called living in the eternal spring, the undying spring. Have you ever reflected, while we rejoice in spring and celebrate longevity, that animals are suffering and dying? Have you ever reflected that while human beings laugh, joke, and feast in satisfaction, at that very time, animals are struggling, suffering, rolling, groaning on the chopping block under the knife, blood flowing, flesh falling? Have you ever reflected that the joyful spring day, the new year of human beings, is the day of mourning, desolation, gloom, and death for animals? And have you ever reflected that the new year, the spring day that people are organizing, is truly a day of happiness and peace, or a day of suffering, anxiety, worry, and sorrow for human beings? Have you ever contemplated this? You kind, venerable ones. We must examine. Here there is joy. There is crying, even among human beings. Can that joy be complete? Here there is fullness. There is hunger. Can that joy truly be joy? Therefore, the Buddha taught lay people as well as monastics. Do not kill living beings. Do not rejoice when seeing others kill. Do not command others to kill. Abandon killing. Abandon rejoicing in killing. All acts of killing are causes of shortened life for ourselves. And later, we will receive the result of premature death. And once there is premature death, one can never live long in this life. Standing on the law of cause and effect, examine carefully. Why do human beings wish to live 100 years and more and even longer still? Yet, take knives to cut throats, pluck feathers, smash heads, drain blood from living beings. Are they not afraid of the law of cause and effect? Not afraid of the law of cause and effect? It favors no one. If one commits evil, one must suffer. If one shortens the lives of beings, one must live a short life. You must understand the law of cause and effect is exactly like that. Now that you have heard this teaching, will you still celebrate spring, wish longevity, and celebrate age in that way? You should know our rejoicing without awareness has already created evil causes. Later, we must suffer. Human joy lasts only a moment, but suffering is without end. As the cause, so the result. Therefore, our joy always carries suffering within it. As evidence, after the New Year days, life returns to what it was. What remains is a long chain of bleak days, full of anxiety, fear, hunger, cold, illness, and many painful accidents arising in the cruel life of human beings. Thus, the karmic results of suffering press heavily upon their lives, and they know it. Here war ends, their war erupts. Across the world, at every moment, there is war. Why? Because human beings are too cruel, taking a day of joy for themselves that becomes a day of devastation for other beings. Therefore, human beings only know how to laugh when sensual desire is satisfied, and only know how to cry when sensual desire is not satisfied, when accident and illness arrive. Thus today, you clearly understand the meaning of New Year celebrations, welcoming spring, celebrating longevity in this world, is cruelty. It is a continuous chain of suffering in human life. It is a long chain continuing the cruel mind of human beings. And precisely because of this, human longevity becomes shorter. 4. Punishment or blessing. Both arise from cause and effect. Today, the teacher will guide you to seek an eternal spring, a spring in which there is no hour, no day, no month, no year without spring, without peace, without happiness. So, what is the path to realize an eternal spring, a peaceful and happy spring for all beings? You venerable ones, listen carefully. Understand clearly and practice correctly according to the teacher's instruction. Remember this teaching. You must not practice it wrongly. You must practice it exactly right. Before following the teacher to awaken a spring of happiness and peace, you must pay attention to the single most important and supreme principle governing all circumstances of human life, the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect has two clear parts. 1. Evil cause, painful result. 2. Wholesome cause, blessed result. Here you must understand, the law of cause and effect does not favor anyone. It is not afraid of anyone, even if that person is the Buddha, the Lord of Heaven, the world-honored one, a saint, God, the Jade Emperor, or demons. A Buddhist monk must live like an ancient Zen master who knows neither day, nor month, nor year. That is, one who transcends space and time. Only in that way can one truly be called living in the eternal spring, the undying spring. Have you ever reflected that while we rejoice in spring and celebrate longevity, animals are suffering and dying? Have you ever reflected that while humans laugh, feast, and indulge freely, at that very moment animals are struggling, writhing, crying out, rolling in agony beneath knives and on chopping blocks, with blood flowing and flesh torn apart? Have you ever considered that the joyful, Spring Festival, the New Year celebration of humankind, is a day of mourning, yet desolation, darkness, and death for animals. And have you ever reflected whether the New Year and Spring Festival people organize is truly a day of happiness and peace, or a day of anxiety, sorrow, worry, and suffering for human beings themselves? Have you ever contemplated this? Venerable ones, we must examine this carefully. If one place laughs while another place weeps, even among humans, can that joy be complete? If one place is full while another place starves, can that joy truly be called joy? Therefore, the Buddha taught that both lay people and monastics must not kill living beings, must not rejoice when seeing others kill, must not instruct others to kill. One must abandon killing and abandon delighting in killing. All acts of killing are causes of short life. In the future, we will reap the fruit of premature death, and once life is cut short, one will never live long in this world. Standing upon the law of cause and effect, consider carefully, why do human beings wish to live 100 years, and even longer still, yet hold knives to cut throats, pluck feathers, smash heads, and drain the blood of living beings? Are you not afraid of the law of cause and effect? Are you truly not afraid? It shows favoritism to no one. If one commits evil, one must endure suffering. If one shortens the life of another being, one must live a short life oneself. You must understand that the law of cause and effect is exactly so. Now that you have heard this teaching, will you still rejoice in spring, wish longevity, and celebrate age as before? You should understand that our joy, unknowingly, creates evil causes. Sooner or later, we must endure suffering. Human joy lasts but a moment, yet suffering is boundless. As the cause, so the result. Therefore, within our joy, there is always suffering hidden. After the days of the New Year pass, may life returns to what it was, leaving behind a long chain of bleak days filled with anxiety, fear, hunger, cold, sickness, and countless painful accidents. The cruel life of humankind creates karmic consequences that weigh heavily upon them. In one place, war ends. In another place, war erupts. Throughout the world, at every hour, at every moment, there is war. Why? Because human beings are too cruel, taking a day of joy for themselves that becomes a day of massacre for other beings. Thus, human beings laugh when sensual desires are satisfied, and cry when those desires are not fulfilled, or when illness and misfortune arrive. Today, you now understand clearly the meaning of the new year, of welcoming spring, of celebrating longevity in this world, is cruelty. It is a continuous chain of suffering in human life. It is a long succession of the cruel mind of humankind. And for that very reason, human lifespan becomes shortened. For punishment or blessing are both determined by cause and effect. Today, Bifeno, I will guide you to find an eternal spring, a spring in which there is no hour, no day, no month, no year without spring, without peace and happiness. What then is the path to realize such an eternal spring, a spring of peace and happiness for all beings? Venerable ones, listen carefully, understand clearly, practice exactly as taught. You must not practice incorrectly. You must practice precisely. Before following this path to awaken a spring of happiness and peace, you must pay attention to the one supreme principle governing all human circumstances, the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect has two clear parts. First, evil cause brings suffering. Second, wholesome cause brings blessing. Understand this well. The law of cause and effect favors no one. It fears no one, even if that person were the Buddha, the Lord of Heaven, the world-honored one, a sage, the supreme deity, the Jade Emperor, or demons and spirits. It would show no preference. Even if one were a powerful king, it would not show respect. Even if one were flattering and deceitful, it would not spare them. Even if one were supremely wealthy in this world, it would not be swayed. Even if one were utterly poor and destitute, it would not pardon them out of pity. From the highest creator to the lowest beggar, the law of cause and effect is always equal. If one commits evil and unwholesome deeds, it will punish that person with painful consequences, and may even end their life if they have shortened the lives of others. In this world, have you not seen many who die young? This is the result of the cause of killing and shortening lives. When one commits an evil deed, even if one possessed treasures, filling all space to bribe it, it would not spare one's life. Even if one were highly intelligent and skillful at hiding, no matter where one fled, it would find and administer just punishment when conditions are ripe. Thus, even kings and the supremely wealthy cannot escape its hand. The law of cause and effect has full authority to punish evil and to grant blessings to the good. Whoever causes others suffering must suffer. Whoever causes others hardship must endure hardship. Whoever causes others poverty must experience poverty. Whoever deprives others of food and clothing or destroys food must endure hunger and cold. Whoever causes others the pain of separation and mourning must experience separation and mourning. Whoever causes beings to die prematurely must suffer premature death. Whoever brings suffering to self, to others, or to both, receives corresponding consequences. Those who use power or wealth to steal others' spouses, seize property, or take lives to indulge their desires and lavish pleasures, the law of cause and effect will judge them justly. If one performs a wholesome deed, it grants blessings, subtle joy, complete happiness, and long life without needing bribery, prayer, or offerings. Understand clearly. The law of cause and effect does not hesitate to reward or punish even a so-called divine creator. If such a being, whether called Buddha, Lord, sage, spirit, or deity, for the sake of bananas, incense, money, fruit, flowers, or tea, were to protect someone who commits evil and causes countless sufferings, then that being too would be judged by the law of cause and effect and punished like an ordinary person, enduring suffering, separation, and death like all beings. Therefore, as disciples of the Buddha, do not allow worldly customs to assimilate you and lead you away from the true path of Buddhism. 5. When Buddhism is transformed into a superstitious religion, you are guardians of the Dharma. Why then have you transformed Buddhism into a religion of gods, turning it into superstition as it is today? The path of Buddhism is self-effort, self-liberation. Yet, today it has become passive and dependent, filled with praying, pleading, and offerings. Lay followers now come to temples asking for everything: protection from illness and disaster, deliverance of departed parents to paradise, children and prosperity, peaceful homes, even offering a bunch of bananas while praying to win the lottery jackpot. And what about you, venerable monks and nuns? Are you not constantly arranging rituals, offerings, chanting, prayers, petitions, ceremonies for peace, ceremonies for the dead, exorcising spirits, guiding wandering souls, burning paper money, paper clothes, paper houses and storehouses of every kind, and so on and so on? If Buddhism teaches practice in this way, then why endure the hardship of ordination? Why keep the precepts with such difficulty? Why stay awake late into the night in meditation? If all that is needed is money, then whatever one asks for will be granted. The wealthy need only spend money on offerings and ceremonial meals, and monks and nuns will arrange everything completely, from food and hospitality for lay people, to ritual offerings of paper garments and storehouses, to written petitions, chanting sutras, reciting mantras, pleading and praying to Buddhas and sages so that all wishes may be fulfilled. Thus, lay followers come to the temple, throw down money, and monks and nuns serve them fully. From rituals to meals, they come to the temple as if going to a restaurant. With money, they are attended and served above all else. Through such exchanges, monks and nuns continue their religious life by using wrong livelihood to sustain wrong livelihood. How then can the path of Buddhism remain correct? Day by day, Buddhism sinks lower through this way of living, through this exchange of unwholesome actions to sustain life. Meanwhile, lay people continue committing countless wrongdoings as long as they have money. They do not fear cause and effect because they believe that whenever misfortune or suffering arises, and they need only pay money, and everything will be resolved. Thus, the fourfold assembly of the Buddha's disciples today have come to disregard their own Buddha. They have lowered the Buddha into a mere god, a god whose role is to protect their livelihood and secure their worldly success. They regard the realm of the Buddhas as no different from the ordinary world of common people. Here, you must not turn the Buddha into a god behind whose shadow you hide to pursue fame and profit without conscience, without responsibility, without the virtue of a monastic. In ancient times, the Buddha lived by alms alone. Today, we engage in every kind of occupation. Ritual specialists, healers, exorcists, fortune tellers, teachers, clerks, political brokers, farmers, plowing fields and planting crops, all in the effort to make as much money as others. If a robber and murderer brings money and jewels as offerings, monks are ready to pray for that person to escape misfortune and enjoy health and peace. If so, the murderer continues committing crimes, and in that wrongdoing, the monks become accomplices. When actions deviate from the true path of Buddhism, how can one move toward an eternal spring? Such conduct leads only toward worldly sensual pleasure filled with wrongdoing. Then you will open your eyes and witness your own suffering, falling into a living hell in this very world, as you have already seen among respected elders before you. 6. Only with karmic causation and rebirth do time and space exist here. You should reflect more deeply. Why is it that where there is karmic causation and rebirth, there is time and space? To answer this, you must clearly understand the meaning of cause and effect. What is cause and effect? A cause is a seed. From a seed, a sprout emerges, grows into a tree, flowers, and bears fruit. That fruit is the result. The seed of human action arises from body, speech, mind, and craving. An evil deed arises from body, speech, mind, and craving. A wholesome deed also arises from body, speech, mind, and craving. In this life, people often suffer more and rejoice less. This is because evil causes are many, while wholesome causes are few. To understand this clearly, one must examine their actions of body, speech, and mind. Result means fruit, means outcome, means what one experiences and must undergo. A joyful result brings blessings, peace, happiness, brightness of heart, freedom from mental obstruction, freedom from anger and affliction, freedom from illness and accident, freedom from separation. It means living in harmony, living in love, not being torn apart from one another. A painful result means experiencing suffering, pain, illness, accidents, anger and mental affliction, fear, sorrow, and all forms of disaster, sickness, and death, and so on and so on. We have been born into this life, fortunate to be human, fortunate to possess a human body. But this human body is the result of causes from a previous life, of seeds from a previous existence. Therefore, having a body means having a result, and having a result means there must be experience. To experience suffering is to endure suffering. To experience joy is to enjoy peace and happiness. Yet, joy, happiness, and peace are very little. Suffering is very much for human beings. From within this very human body, we continually create new causes, as previously taught, through body, speech, mind, governed by craving. Because actions of body, speech, and mind alternate between wholesome and unwholesome. Within evil, there may be good. Within good, there may be evil. Therefore, our experience is mixed. At times, suffering contains joy. At times, joy contains suffering. Human life is a mixture of pain and happiness. Just now, joyful. immediately sorrowful, just now sorrowful, immediately joyful. Because there is a body, there is form. Whatever possesses form must undergo decay, impermanence, and therefore gives rise to grief, sorrow, and affliction. Where there is form, there must be space. And where there is space, there must be a process of time. And once there is a process of time, time is divided into past, future, and present. Thus, we must understand, time is divided by space. Where there is space, there must be time. Where there is time, space divides it. Because of this division, there is a rising and passing away. Therefore, all things are impermanent, considering the present moment. At present, we have a body. Having a body means there is space. Having space means there is result. And having result means there must have been cause. That cause lies in the past. Thus, the present body is the present result. Within this body are the three actions: body, speech, and mind. When we create causes in the present, the result will appear in the future. Therefore, there is rebirth, there is cyclic existence. If there were no present causes, there would be no future result. For this reason, one who practices the Buddha's path must guard the actions of body, speech, and mind so as not to create future causes. If in the future there is no result, it means there is no rebirth. When body, speech, and mind are constantly guarded within the breath, within purity, then there is no more cause and effect. And where there is no more cause and effect, there is no rebirth. Rebirth is ended. 7. Ending craving is ending rebirth. What then are we practicing right now? We are guarding body, speech, and mind. Why guard them? So as not to sow causes. When there are no more causes, there is no more rebirth. That is the eternal spring. That is the spring of Maitreya. In the past, Tu Dao Han, for the sake of his own life, for his family, and for Buddhism, feared retaliation from Daidian, so he used incantations to kill Jia Huang, the adopted son of the king of the Lai dynasty. Jia Huang was the rebirth of Daidian. When Jia Huang died, the king compelled Tu Dao Han to be reborn as crown prince to inherit the throne. At that time, Tu Dao Han told Thuan Hao to secretly observe his wife while she bathed, and instructed that when she gave birth, he must be informed. Later, when she was in labor but could not deliver, Thuan Hao remembered the instruction and sent word. Upon hearing the news, Tu Dao Han immediately entered deep meditation and abandoned his body. At that very moment, the queen gave birth to a royal son. When the mind of sensual desire arises, that is the cause of rebirth. It is the cause of receiving a body again in the future. If a practitioner does not eradicate craving, sensual desire remains, and if sensual desire remains, one must take another body. But when craving is completely ended, rebirth ends. There is no future body. Here you must understand, only the path of Buddhist practice can eradicate craving. And to uproot craving completely, one must pass through the 8 stages of meditative absorption. If a practitioner has not passed through these 8 stages, craving has not been fully ended. To pass through these 8 stages, you must find a true teacher, one who has personally attained them, to guide you. Without such guidance, you cannot eradicate craving. Other forms of meditation cannot uproot it. Therefore, Buddhism teaches that if you wish to escape the cycle of sinking in human suffering and to end rebirth, you must clearly understand craving. From craving arise countless forms of suffering for human beings. To end craving, there are 3 ways. First, you must step beyond the customs and traditions of all peoples in this world. If you allow those customs to assimilate Buddhism, then Buddhism will no longer be a path of liberation. It will become merely a religious form serving human ambition, and the liberating purpose of Buddhism will dissolve like mist, like smoke, like clouds. Second, you must live free from sensual desire by living in accordance with the Buddha's precepts. You must live in solitude, in seclusion, not conversing, not engaging in idle talk. A Buddhist monk must uphold 250 precepts. A lay practitioner must uphold the 8 fundamental precepts. Then you must create every condition, every circumstance to attain seclusion and to live alone. Only by living correctly in this way can sensual desire be abandoned. Third, you must completely cut off craving. That means you must enter the 8 stages of meditation taught by the Buddha. If you do not cultivate in this way, you will never eradicate craving. And if craving is not eradicated, even if you thoroughly understand the 3 baskets of scriptures, even if you master the Zen records of the Eastern transmission, even if you possess supernatural powers and abilities, you will still continue in rebirth forever, endlessly, suffering without measure. Therefore, Buddhism teaches that to escape the ocean of suffering, you must cut off the mind of craving, for from craving arise thousands upon thousands of forms of suffering in human life. 8. A purely wholesome spring is the eternal spring. Therefore, to celebrate the teacher's longevity, to honor the Buddha's age, must lie in effort, perseverance, endurance, and total dedication to cultivating all wholesome actions and eliminating all unwholesome actions. Only then do you begin to rebuild the eternal spring. An eternal spring has no apricot blossoms, no festive cakes or fruits, no meat or fish, no delicacies, no fireworks, no traditional rice cakes, no ceremonial poles. Only that is the eternal spring, a spring of happiness and peace for all beings. An eternal spring is a purely wholesome spring, a spring without killing, without suffering. That is the spring the Buddha's disciples called the spring of Maitreya for a long time, and people have falsely claimed the worldly spring to be the spring of Maitreya. That has brought even greater suffering to the Dharma. Here, you must understand clearly what was taught earlier. Only when you live purely wholesome does the rebuilding of the eternal spring begin. Why do we say begin? Because, as you have learned from Buddhist teachings, the path has 3 stages of practice. First, you must live correctly according to the precepts. That means living rightly. You're living purely wholesome. Living the holy life of a Buddhist monastic, in every gesture, in every refined conduct, in eating, drinking, sleeping, resting. The holy life must be expressed. This is the stage of abandoning desire. Second, you must enter the 8 meditative absorptions, 2nd jhana, 3rd jhana, 4th jhana, the sphere of infinite space, the sphere of infinite consciousness, the sphere of nothingness, the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception, and the cessation of perception and feeling. In this is the stage of cutting off desire. Third, you must realize the 3 knowledges. First, knowledge of past lives. Second, knowledge of others' minds and the divine eye. Third, knowledge of the ending of defilements. This is the stage of liberating wisdom. Here you must clearly recognize the first stage is where we begin to build the eternal spring. If this stage is not understood, practice will go astray from the very beginning, from the precepts themselves. Most people today who practice Buddhism have gone astray right at the start, right at the discipline. Therefore, the Buddha also taught us to discern the 3 kinds of feeling. First, pleasant feeling. Second, painful feeling. Third, neither pleasant nor painful feeling. These 3 feelings belong to the ordinary person who has not yet practiced, who has not yet upheld precepts. During the Buddha's time, a certain heterodox teacher claimed that the state of neither pleasure nor pain was nirvana, was the ultimate goal. Later, some renowned Chan patriarchs in China also regarded this state of neither pleasure nor pain as the way, as liberation, as nirvana. Ordinary mind is the way, without hindrance is the way. These 2 famous statements from 2 great Chan masters are similar to the view of that heterodox teacher, considering this state to be the ultimate liberation, to be nirvana. Made an ordinary mind that is neither joyful nor sorrowful is not liberation, is not the path, is not nirvana. It is merely the ordinary mind of a common person that is neither pleased nor distressed. A mind that is neither joyful nor sorrowful may be free from disturbance by pleasure or pain. Yet, this too is not the ultimate nirvana. Therefore, the Bhikkhuni Dhammadina answered the layman Visakha, "Venerable nun, with what is the feeling of neither pain nor pleasure equivalent?" The nun replied, "Friend Visakha, the feeling of neither pain nor pleasure has ignorance as its equivalent." The word ignorance here refers to the ordinary mind, for the ordinary mind is ignorance, and the ignorant mind still clings to the 5 sensual desires. It cannot be called a liberated mind. It cannot be called the path. Have you understood this clearly? Listen further. The nun continued answering Visakha, "With what is ignorance equivalent?" Ignorance has knowledge as its equivalent. Venerable ones, and the knowledge spoken of here is not intellectual understanding gained from study, not conceptual comprehension, not imaginative interpretation. The knowledge here is liberating wisdom. Liberating wisdom is the 3 knowledges. When we practice and eliminate defilements, when we cut off craving, then liberating wisdom appears. That is the mind of the 3 knowledges. So here, knowledge means the 3 knowledges, not clever worldly intelligence or eloquent speech. Listen further to the dialogue between Dhammadina and Visakha. Venerable nun, with what is knowledge equivalent? Friend Visakha, knowledge has liberation as its equivalent. Let this be repeated once more. Liberating wisdom is knowledge, and this knowledge is the 3 knowledges, not accumulated intellectual skill. The 3 knowledges arise from meditative absorption, and meditation is the eradication of craving. Craving is the root of suffering. Therefore, to attain a liberated mind, craving must be cut off. Now listen further. Venerable nun, with what is liberation equivalent? Friend Visakha, liberation has nirvana as its equivalent. Thus, the liberated mind is a mind possessing the 3 knowledges. It is a mind that has ended craving. It is the mind of nirvana. It is not the ordinary mind that neither feels pleasure nor pain. Therefore, man's ordinary mind is the way, and without hindrance is the way. In the Chan tradition of the Eastern transmission are only equivalent to the stage of abandoning desire in Buddhism. That is to say, the Chan of the Eastern transmission remains at the stage of moral discipline, the stage of distancing from desire. It is not yet meditative absorption. It is not yet the ultimate goal. A mind that experiences neither pleasure nor pain easily falls into conceptual absorption. And once fallen into conceptual absorption, craving can never be eradicated. If one continues practicing in such absorption, one falls into heterodox meditation. And from there, craving grows stronger, self-importance grows stronger, attachment to fame and gain grows stronger. According to Buddhism, the liberated mind is the mind that has severed craving, the mind of the 3 knowledges, the mind of nirvana, the mind of the eternal spring, the spring of happiness for all beings. So now you understand clearly in which mind the eternal spring resides. Is it not so? Today is the first day of spring, the new year. It is the day when children of the Buddha should sit respectfully in the full lotus posture, guarding the meditative mind, purifying the heart, contemplating wholesome qualities, cultivating and strengthening wholesome qualities, protecting wholesome qualities, eliminating and abandoning unwholesome qualities. Body, speech, and mind must be pure, must be wholly wholesome. And 9. Celebrating longevity and spring in the true Buddhist way. You must understand, only noble and deeply respectful conduct can truly celebrate the teacher's longevity and honor the Buddha's age. That alone is the true meaning of celebration in the eternal spring. If you do not follow this teaching, but instead chase worldly New Year customs as people do today, then that is not true celebration in the spring of Buddhism. Venerable ones, do not arrange fruits and sweets, renovate temples beautifully, decorate them splendidly, then gather before the teacher to bow, to offer florid words of congratulation spoken merely from the lips, artificial, formal, insincere. In Buddhism, such celebration celebrates nothing. It is merely assimilation into worldly custom. It is a way of congratulation, that deludes a people, worldly, deceptive, dishonest, and what people call spring lasts only a few days. That spring is a spring of suffering for humans and for animals. Buddhism regards such celebration as untruthful, contrived, opposed to the sincere, liberating heart of the Dharma. If you do not wish to offer congratulations of longevity, then do not. But if you do offer them, they must be offered correctly, in accordance with the virtue of Buddhism, within wholesome qualities, within the Buddha's precepts, when body, speech, and mind are purified. Then you must understand that this is the beginning of offering longevity in the eternal spring. If we wish to fully experience the eternal spring and to offer longevity to the teacher and the Buddhas, then we must transcend space and time. That means body, speech, and mind enter meditation. There is no cause, no result. Only there is your reverence and sincerity, truly worthy of offering longevity to the teacher and honoring the Buddha. When your mind rests where there is no space and no time, there are no dualities. There, you truly experience the eternal spring. There is no desire and no sensual pleasure. Therefore, there is no sorrow and no joy. It is not an ordinary mental state. It is not merely a mind free from disturbance. There is no good and no evil. There, lifespan is neither short nor long. It is eternal, boundless, without end. There is no rebirth. There is no killing. There is no mutual harm. There is no suffering, no torment, no anger, no hatred. That is the destination to which Buddhism guides all beings. That is the true, eternal spring of all living beings. But remember this carefully. Only human beings can realize it. Remember that well. Only human beings can realize it. 10. Avoid further division within Buddhism. Here, I conclude today's talk, and I end with words of caution, so that you guard these teachings for practice, not for spreading outwardly. These words are a call from within Buddhism itself, a sincere call to revive the Dharma. There is no ill intention here, no desire for conflict, no intention to divide the children of the Buddha. This call is a call to unity, to join shoulders together, to clasp hands firmly, to rebuild the house of the true Dharma according to the original path of Buddhism, a house long neglected, long cast aside. Though it may not yet be the proper time for such a call, it arises from deep concern, because you sincerely wish to practice correctly, yet do not know the path. Therefore, this earnest appeal is meant to encourage and inspire you. Aim first so that you clearly recognize the true path of Buddhist practice that has been abandoned for other methods. Second, so that through self-reflection you accept your responsibility and duty toward Buddhism today. Thus you must persevere, remain steadfast, be resolute, strive to practice what the Buddha taught over 2,500 years ago, to revive authentic Buddhism, to raise again the radiant torch of the Dharma, and to clarify which meditative path is truly Buddhist and which is not, and to affirm clearly that the meditative path of Vietnamese Buddhism, must not be influenced by foreign elements, Chinese, Western, Japanese, American, or others. It must arise from original Buddhism itself. Venerable ones, when you read the history of Vietnamese Buddhism, and recently the work on Vietnamese Zen masters, compiled with great effort by Venerable Thich Thanh II, gathering 129 practitioners, if you examine carefully their lives and methods of practice, and only a very small number, no more than 10, truly followed the original Buddhist path. The rest were influenced by mixed elements from other forms of Buddhism and other religions. Therefore, even though you practice under the name of Buddhism today, you may not be practicing true Buddhism. Understand this clearly. This sincere call is so that you practice according to the authentic path of the Buddha. And to practice incorrectly and not know that one is practicing incorrectly, that is the most painful condition of our present age. I repeat once more, though I know this may not be the right time to speak because you are practicing under my guidance, I must speak. I speak so that you may practice correctly. I speak so that you may have firm faith in the Dharma, in Buddhism, in the path you are walking. These words are only for within this monastery. Therefore, you must not circulate them, must not publicize them, must not repeat them outwardly, for they bring no benefit to Buddhism at this time. Keep them within your own heart for practice only. Why? Because this is an age when science is rapidly advancing. Historical research has developed deeply, probing to the roots. Buddhist scriptures are now being examined under the light of science. Which sutras were spoken by the Buddha and which were spoken later by others? These matters will gradually be demonstrated and revealed clearly. Thus, many people in the world are experiencing great shock regarding Buddhism. They are confused, wavering in their views and assumptions. If they hear these teachings now, they may not have the calm clarity to discern what is true and what is false. They may misunderstand and misjudge these words, stripping them of their noble meaning. They may think these words are provocative or divisive. They may think these teachings do not follow the middle way. Seeing that we live strictly according to the precepts, abandoning sensual desire, they may accuse us of self-mortification and ascetic extremism. They will seek ways to oppose such teachings. They will not understand that these words are sincere, without distortion, without deception, without hostility. They are direct, upright, pointing clearly to the true path of Buddhism. They will not understand that these teachings are noble and wholesome, meant only to encourage monks, nuns, and lay people to practice without straying into heterodox paths. Once again, use these words only to encourage your own practice. Do not spread them outwardly and create further division within Buddhism. For many are practicing incorrectly without knowing it. Many cling to mistaken views. Many are blinded by arguments and theories. If something is not in accordance with true Buddhism and we wish to correct it, we must first build what is right. At present, do not use speech to argue right and wrong, good and bad. That only creates more conflict and builds nothing. It increases division, confuses lay followers, and brings no benefit to the Dharma. For now, understand these teachings as an inner call to strengthen your faith and resolve. This call is only for our internal practice. If you do not follow this instruction, and out of sympathy, you circulate these teachings, then the responsibility is yours. If you have not yet completed your practice, yet you publicize these words, that is mere promotion. You have not seen the proper time. If consequences arise, you must bear responsibility before Buddhism. As for me, these words are only a call for you to practice correctly according to the Buddha's path. I have no other intention. 11. Do not let the path of liberation be lost in summary. To conclude today's talk, you now understand the direction and orientation of Buddhist practice. From this day forward, take the precepts as the firm foundation of your path. Never violate them for worldly pleasure. Never transform Buddhism into a religion of gods for the sake of worldly pleasure. And never reduce the Buddha into a mere deity for the sake of worldly pleasure. Venerable ones, you must strive to preserve and protect Buddhism. Do not allow any customs or traditions from anywhere to assimilate it, to drown it, to distort the liberating path of the Buddha. If you have already gone forth, left home, cut off worldly attachments, if you have abandoned everything in this world, leaving only one bowl and 3 robes, living on alms like one who possesses nothing, like one without family, like one without a single personal belonging beyond 3 robes and 1 bowl, then you must clearly see your duty and responsibility toward Buddhism today. You are messengers of the Tathagata. If you still chase the 5 worldly sensual pleasures while wearing the robe of the Tathagata, while sitting upon the seat of the Tathagata, then I fear you will not escape falling into hell. Have you not seen some of our senior elders? Within a time, we ourselves have witnessed, bearing the outer form of Buddhism, the name of Buddhism, wearing the robe of Buddhism, yet performing worldly deeds. Because of this, when those elders left this body, they endured years of suffering upon hospital beds. They endured groaning and torment. They endured the foul stench of their own bodies upon sickbeds for all to witness. I will not name them here, but I believe you know clearly who they are. The higher their fame and gain, the higher their ecclesiastical rank, the more painful and agonizing their passing became. That is evidence of hell experienced in this very world. Venerable ones, take these examples as mirrors. Reflect upon yourselves. Be vigilant. Guard your own life force. Otherwise, you too may fall into hell in this very world. Do not use reasoning to conceal such faults by saying repaying karma or exhausting karma. Having obtained this human body, having received the blessing of renunciation, wearing the robe of the Tathagata, living with 3 robes and 1 bowl, all evil karma of past lives has long since ended. If it had not ended, you would not stand here today. You do not carry past evil karma into this life in this way. Only the cause and effect created in this present life must be borne. And if born, it is to awaken those who come after, to warn those who come after, not to justify wrongdoing, not to blind others, not to conceal truth from others. Here I conclude today's talk. Let us together recite the dedication of merit. May the merit of this practice be dedicated to all realms of Dharma and all sentient beings, that all may perfectly realize the Buddha way.